When what worked stops working, I point purpose-driven leaders to Prolific, the growth firm. They turn plans into results with full-service marketing and strategy, focused on outcomes, not vanity metrics. Head to prolifichq.com to learn more.
I think so many people think to start a business or to be an entrepreneur, there's these rigid rules. There's not. You get to make the rules. That's the beauty of it. And so the thought was motherhood first, right? Wife, motherhood first, business third. And what does that look like? And for me personally, it was, I work 2 days a week, and I always have. And I probably will for a while because my children are still small. But that always shocks people. Like, you only work 2 days a week. Yes. And in those 2 days, I am insanely focused.
Hi, I'm Dave Neff, host of Talent Scout. On this show, we shine a light on Indiana's next generation of leaders who are making a difference in business, community, and civic life. These are real conversations about purpose, mentorship, and building a future that matters. Join me as we invest in leadership that lasts. Welcome back to another episode of Talent Scout. My guest today is Whittney Parkinson. Whittney is the owner of Whittney Parkinson Design. And I'm really excited. This is sort of an out-of-the-box guest for me, you know?
It is.
Whittney and I probably first met, 10 years ago, but really it was through your husband, Austin, who I've known for, close to 20 years now. And, just as I've gotten to know you and have known Austin and your three kids, our families have gotten to know each other. My wife tells me how impressive your work is. And so I'm really excited to have you on the show. Your work, I know, with Whittney Parkinson Design has been featured in Better Homes and Gardens, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. And while you certainly have a broad following, I think on social media, close to 145,000 followers, primarily on Instagram, which we joked about, this will be good to bring the LinkedIn and Instagram worlds together. I'm just excited for the world, for Indiana, to hear your story and kind of how you've gotten to where you are. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited.
Well, let's maybe go back to the beginning. Tell us about your childhood, where you grew up, what it was like, your family.
Okay. So I grew up 45 minutes north in Kokomo, and I'm the oldest of 4 girls. And my dad owns an architecture firm, and my mom, when I was a child, was an interior designer. So genetically had no choice in the matter here. Yeah. But my childhood, we had a great childhood, very all-American. But I think you don't really have perspective on your childhood until you're an adult, and even more so when you're a parent. Like, you just know what you know when you're a kid, right? And then later you're like, whoa. And so I'll be like really honest. When my parents were starting the firms, we were so poor, like so poor. I mean, my dad drove a semi and went to school at night and was starting the firm at the same time. And my mom was working crazy jobs and she was going to school. And I don't know if this was like a thing in the 80s and 90s, but my mom would take me to school with her. So I remember sitting in the back of like interior design classes in preschool, drawing with like Prismacolor markers. And my dad, they just grinded. So we truly got a front row seat as children as what building a business looks like. Yeah. And it's just made me appreciate them more now, more than ever, because we have kids now and I have a business now, just how much work that took and how there's really no excuses because they went from the bottom. I mean, we had nothing and built something so incredible from nothing. And so being able to watch that in your childhood is a pretty unique experience. Yeah. Yeah.
So oldest of 4 girls, Kokomo. What was life? What was maybe, you just kind of touched on one, a shaping force or two, like seeing, your 2 parents start these separate businesses, not having a lot of extra, right? But the 6 of you kind of figuring life out together. Just maybe what was another sort of shaping force from your childhood that stands out to you?
Yeah, I think the fact that my parents very much wanted us to be with them. And nothing against people who send their kids to daycare or anything like that, but they were very much like, you're coming with. And so I think being in meetings as a kindergartner, like with my dad in architectural meetings, or he'd be like, okay, you're going to take notes. And so feeling like we were part of it right, was, and we didn't know anyone in our, no one in our family worked a 9 to 5. I didn't even know what that looked like until I graduated college. Like, what does an office job look like? We just weren't exposed to that. And so I think just unknowingly having that front row seat to business was just so, I don't know, it's just very vital. And
so they brought you into their worlds from a young age.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think it's important to see your parents do something they love as opposed to, just like, oh, my mom's at home and then she disappears for 8 or 9 hours. Like, we got to watch them do things that they loved and enjoyed and were passionate about. And I think that's important. I think kids need to have that front row seat.
Yeah. That's cool. What high school? Kokomo? Kokomo High School.
Yeah.
All right.
The big dog.
Yeah, that's right. I think I read somewhere in preparing for this that as you were preparing to graduate high school and thinking about college, you really didn't want to go into interior design. I mean, that was sort of, even though you grew up around it, you wanted to kind of chart your own path. So maybe bring us into where you started school. I know down in Florida, but tell us how you came to that decision and just sort of what your plans were at that time of life.
I think because we'd been so immersed in the design and architecture field, obviously I just wanted to do something on my own, but my foundation has always been art and drawing and painting. That's kind of was my first language, truly. And so I decided, I won the National Golden Key Award in my junior year of high school for illustration. It was a 9/11 illustration. And so that was something that was pretty pivotal for me. Like, I think I would really love to do this. I illustrated for our paper in high school. And so I went to Ringling, which is in Sarasota, Ringling School of Art Design, which is really a hub for Disney and Pixar. So that was the goal, to be an illustrator, animator. And then I got there and was like, no, this actually isn't what I thought it would be. It was like, you're going to be in a cubicle in front of a computer. It wasn't that, organic, artistic idea I had in my mind. And so I think I really just had to pivot. But I'm glad that I went to Florida. Like that.
Because, I think I read that you needed a job.
I needed a job.
And so you talk to us about where you found a job and kind of what inspiration that brought while you're in Florida. Yeah,
so I stumbled upon this art gallery out on St. Armand's Island, which is just, on Longboat Key off of Sarasota. And it was called Exit Art. They're still here. Family owned. The husband was he's like a world-renowned artist, and the wife kind of ran the business. But they were a multidisciplinary studio and gallery. And so they had furniture. So there was kind of the interior design aspect of it. And then Peter Stanek was the artist. And in Florida, you have seasons, right? It's like you have when things are down and slow, when the snowbirds are there, like it gets slow. And so I remember sitting in there in the studio just reading all about furniture. And I was just like, I couldn't get enough. I nerded out over reading about all these designers and interior designers and furniture designers. And so that was a pretty eye-opening, like, all right, this is actually the field I should be in. And so that next year I transferred to Chicago to be a little closer to home. And then Chicago, just going to college in Chicago in general in architecture is like,
what was the name of the school in Chicago?
Harrington College of Design. So it was like probably one of the top interior design schools in the country. It's really old, right downtown. I mean, you're like right off the loop. And so just being exposed, day in, day out at school, you're drawing like Mies van der Rohe buildings in the flesh. You're going to Frank Gehry houses and drawing them in the flesh. So it's just such an experience that, was priceless.
And so when you made that transition to Chicago, that's when you kind of felt like this is what I want to do.
I knew immediately. Yeah. This is where I was supposed to be.
So I believe I read also you graduated like me kind of in that 08-09 financial crisis. Nothing like adversity to,
shape you,
bring out resourcefulness. So you started your career after finishing school in Chicago, working with your father's architecture and design firm. Is that right? So talk to us a little bit about that experience working with your father. I'm sure there was some good, there's probably some challenging stuff. Just what did you learn from that time?
Yeah, I think the most vital thing was the fact that my dad quite literally threw me into the fire. He was like, you're going to learn by fire. And there were projects that I had no business being on. I think one of the first projects out of college, I mean, with designing a whole Kokomo's city hall. I mean, it was like, we were only like a 3-person firm. What am I doing designing the whole city hall?
Yeah.
But I learned so much. And we would design, I mean, went from churches to restaurants to event centers to city halls. So it was such a multidisciplinary situation that you learn so much in that. And so I think that was a very unique experience where typically people would intern a few years, take things slow, dip their toes. No, there was none of that. There was like, you're doing this, figure it out.
Yeah.
And it truly was the best gift he could have ever given me.
Yeah.
Because I just learned a lot and quick.
And he had a piece of advice for you while you were in college to take psychology classes. Tell us why he gave you that advice and how it relates to your line of work.
Well, I don't think people understand when you're in this position as a designer or an architect and you're working with people who are investing so much money into these projects. And sometimes it's their first time building. There's a lot of emotions at play. I mean, in residential, you have husband and wife. In commercial, you have, sometimes you'll have a committee, and there's just a lot of personalities involved. And being able to, I don't think anyone really preps you in this field of like how much you have to actually manage people and emotions. And there's high emotions because there's a lot of money at stake and decisions. And so being able to sort through that and be the steady person in that, so you're not also one of those people causing, problems. You're just there to listen. And I think psychology, taking those classes was really key. And I'm really glad that I did, because it helps me understand a little more what's actually going on here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's neat. So 2009, join your father's firm back in Kokomo.
Yep.
But then I believe it was 2016 was sort of this fork in the road where you'd gotten married, had I think your first child, and that was sort of the jumping off point where you're like, I'm going to start my own firm. Talk to us about what led to that decision to branch out on your own and start Whittney Parkinson Design.
Well, I think so much of it was having my own child. It was, if I'm going to be away from her, I want to choose what it is I'm doing away from her. I want to be able to create my own time. I mean, my 20s, I mean, my dad, God love him, but he has an incredible work ethic, and I worked like a dog like those years. And I just was like, I can't do this with a child. That's not what I want. And so incorporating myself allowed me that freedom to take what I wanted, be really choosy about projects. And just kind of form my own brand.
This is something that I think, a lot of our listeners, especially some younger folks that might be 10, 15 years into their career and have now started families, especially, women. Talk to us about sort of motherhood and business ownership, right? Because I think that's like, how do you make those two work together? And then you've got a spouse, your husband's in a high profile role as a Division I basketball coach. Just bring us into like how you juggle those, and some people think it's one or the other, or you can have it all. I would love to hear your insights on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I really am passionate about talking about, because I don't really feel like people talk about it and just like they're not honest about it. And we've got to be honest about it, because there's social media especially is such, it's like smoke and mirrors, right? And women especially can watch and look at other people's accounts and be like, oh, what am I doing wrong? Or how is she doing it all? And so we really have to be more transparent around this topic. It's why I'm passionate about talking about it. But yeah, I think it just came to a point where it's like, there's no rules. I think so many people think to start a business or to be an entrepreneur, there's these rigid rules, and there's not. You get to make the rules. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And so the thought was motherhood first, right? Wife, motherhood first, business third. And what does that look like? And for me personally, it was, I work 2 days a week, and I always have. And I probably will for a while, because my children are still small. But that always shocks people. Like, you only work 2 days a week. Yes. And in those 2 days, I am insanely focused. It is the most efficient 9 hours of my life.
Yeah.
And it has to be. But those other 5 days, I am like very much present and with my children. And that's important to me. And so it's this beautiful balance. Now, is that for everyone? No. Maybe 3 days are for some people, or maybe 1 day is for some. But it allows me to also feel like I'm more than just a mom. I do have a creative outlet. I do have gifts. I want to give them back to the world. How do I do that in a way where I feel fulfilled in both?
Yeah.
And does it always feel like, oh, I'm killing it? No, of course not. I don't think anybody feels that way, right? And so it's just setting expectations low and trying and experimenting, because every family is going to be different. But I just think it's important. It makes me feel alive when I'm creating on those 2 days. Yeah. And then I feel energized when I'm with my children on the other 5. And so
probably show up better as a spouse, partner, mother, because you have that outlet.
Yes. I feel like a human. I feel like, and so, I just think that you can do it. You maybe can't do it all. And there's seasons to business. I don't think people just ever really talk about the seasons of business. Business, like life, has seasons. And right now, this isn't my have 15 projects and a firm and a massive brick and mortar shop and studio. That's not my season right now. And I'm okay with that. And it's being content in that and knowing that, you know what, that's probably 6-7 years down the road. We'll get there. But this is what we're doing right now. And I'm content in that. And I feel good in that. And my children are going to thrive because of that decision. And so, you can do both.
Well, I think having boundaries, like you said, around 2 days a week. Sometimes when you show restraint like that, it can bring out, it forces you to be more creative and kind of say, well, if you just kind of work 24/7, right, you start to lose some of that freshness and invigoration. Now, in 2016, was that, having your first child around that time, was that sort of the design from day one? I'm going to work 2 days a week, or did you evolve that over time?
I think it was always that way. I think for me personally, and again, this is not for everybody, but for me personally, if I'm not creating, I'll kind of lose my mind. Like it's just, it's very much part of who I am. And so I knew that I've got to do something. I can't be at home 7 days a week. But the beauty is, I mean, Ren, when we were little, and even now, the kids, I take them with me on job sites. Like on those other 5 days, it doesn't mean that there's no calls or texts. There are, but I have strict boundaries. And so I will literally be like, okay, I'm not answering anyone until noon and 5. Like those are usually my time frames. I will answer you. It's still, to me, a quick reply. I will take them to job sites because my parents did it. And I thought this was interesting. 2 weeks ago, we shot a photo shoot for Traditional Home Magazine that'll be in 2026's holiday. It's one of the biggest photo shoots we've ever had. It's a 14-page spread. But I took Ren with us to the photo shoot. And that was really eye-opening for her. Like, sometimes I think kids just think, oh, you make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and pack my lunch. Like that's what they think you are. And I am. But there's another world and part of me. And she came home like, oh my gosh, this is what you do? Like her questions were so, and it was really like an emotional experience for me because I'm like, wow, yes, it is. And I want her to see that. I want her to see me excited about things outside of them. They are my world, but there's more to me.
Totally.
Than that,
Wow. Thanks for joining us here on Talent Scout. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, so stay tuned. Most organizations hit a point where growth stalls. The message blends in, the site stops converting, pipeline softens. That's when I tell leaders about Prolific, the growth firm for purpose-driven leaders. Through full-service marketing and strategy, they clarify the story, rebuild your go-to-market, and drive sales. Most importantly, Prolific holds itself accountable to the metrics that matter to you. If you're ready for your next growth stage, learn more about Prolific at prolifichq.com. So talk to us about those early days. I mean, you had some great sort of cutting your teeth working with your father, but in 2016, did you just have to take any project? You didn't have, I don't think you had 140,000 Instagram followers and the platform at that time. Like, was it always, hey, I'm going to focus on luxury, residential, and commercial projects in the Midwest and even more specifically, Indiana?
Yes, it was always that. And it was, if anything's pulling me away from her, I've got to love it. And so I have a rigorous kind of vetting process for who do I take on. And it's really to protect me and my family. If I have a pain in the butt client, like I don't, that's not my family's fault. I don't want to be night in and night out, stressed out about this pain in the butt client. I can't do it. It's not fair to them.
Yeah.
So the vetting process from day one was always very rigorous. Yeah.
What do you look for in terms of a family, or a couple on the residential side, or if you are doing a commercial product? Like, what are the tells of, hey, that they'll be probably great to work with, or no, I've seen this before and I know how this movie ends. Yeah, run.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think first and foremost, making sure we align aesthetically, right? Like understanding that I have a brand to uphold, and so if you're calling and you want a super uber modern home, like that's not my brand. That's not who I am. And so I'm not the girl for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it's a lot of honest conversations. Typically, one of my first questions is, have you ever worked with an architect and designer before? And if they're like, oh yeah, we've had 4 or 5, like that's a red flag, right? So, like why are you on your 5th designer or architect? And, really also, I love history. History's always been something that's just, I don't know, like one of my passions. I'm kind of a nerd. And so I finally feel like I started merging those two things. And so if it's a historical home that has just this, I don't know, just the character, and it gets me so excited. And so that's typically one that I prefer taking as well. But the personalities of the people, that's where the psychology comes in. Those early interviews with husband and wife and seeing what that dynamic is. Yeah. Who's going to be the money person? Is the budget right? Do we all have the same expectations in regards to timeline and how that works? And so you can usually figure that out in one good long interview. Yeah.
What is your brand or aesthetic? How do you define it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a refined traditionalism is what I say. And so it's not, we nod to traditional design because a classic is a classic. And I feel like I would love for my legacy in design to be, when I'm long gone, my dream would be someone would be like, oh, this is a Whittney Parkinson house, or like this was designed by, you can tell, that's always like the goal to me, for the architecture and the design to be the legacy there. And so to sustain trend and feel classic, but also fresh, like not like a museum, right? These are families. These are kids. I love families with kids. That's typically who I choose. I enjoy that. And so I want them to feel comfortable in their home, but also I want it to sustain time. Yeah. So,
What do you attribute, and I'd be curious, the sort of that point where you just saw followership and all of that kind of start to spike on social media? Was it a specific project early in owning your own business, or what are sort of those key differentiators that you'd say this is what you've been told, kind of why people resonate with your work so much?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. It was certainly never the goal. I just posted to post. Yeah. And it just became a byproduct of that. It was a very organic, non-intentional thing, which some people have, some people don't. Some people are strictly after the followers. That's never been the case for me. I'm just like, I'm going to share who I am. And if you like it, great. If you don't, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I think it was one large project I had in the beginning, and it drew a lot of attention. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. But it also, I don't like this rigid brand where it's just like so professional. I want there to be me and my family. And so the account is very dual in that way. And so, I very much, because there's still a human behind this. I don't ever want people to think like there's not a human behind the account. And so I think sharing that is also appealing to people. Like, oh, okay, well, she's like, one day she's at a, $6 million project. The next day she's throwing our kids around the backyard, or like, or her kids are on site with her. So, it's just that daily life I think people are intrigued by.
Yeah. So you do exterior, interior, and landscape design, kind of soup to nuts.
Yeah.
I think I read that really your focus is on 60 minutes or 60 miles, kind of within an hour's drive, right? Like you took a project maybe out of state once, and it was a struggle not being able to be there to see it, to engage with contractors and that sort of thing. Are there certain, areas within the 60 miles that you've kind of honed in on, or is it sort of scattered? Like I know you've done some work in Holiday Farms up in Zionsville, new development up there. But what's sort of the heat map of where you do a lot of your work?
Yeah, I would say right now, and even past years prior, it's focused from, I mean, we used to say like 46, I mean, it's Meridian Kessler, Meridian Hills, and then kind of just Carmel, Zionsville. That seems to be the pocket for us. I don't know why. It's just kind of like organically been that way. We do focus a lot on historic renovation. And so obviously that's going to be Meridian Kessler, Meridian Hills areas. But the Holiday Farm thing, that was just kind of like, essentially it's all word of mouth. I mean, it's, once you get one, you kind of hop around.
What is that balance of construction or new builds, like a lot of Holiday Farms, versus renovation? And I think I read that you really don't do just like a kitchen. Like you do has to be a full gut renovation. Is that still how you operate?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, again, for the kid reason, like if you're going to pull me away, it's got to be worth it. If it's got to be worth our time, and we want to have that control. Yeah, we want to be able to create everything organically as one. So but we love the mix of renovation and new build. It just, I don't know, there's something about entrepreneurship that every day is something different. I think the thought of my worst nightmare ever is working in like a cubicle, having the same thing every day. It's like truly my biggest nightmare. Yeah. And so having different projects and different scopes is really fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah. That's great. How many clients will you work with at any given time? And how do you know? And because I mean, these are long engagements, right? Yeah. This isn't like a 3-month thing. This is I'm guessing 12 to 24 months. I don't know. How long are the engagements, and what's sort of your sweet spot in terms of, I know I can manage X amount at any given time? Yeah.
So it's me, and I have a design assistant, Lauren, and she's been an incredible asset to my firm. We stay small intentionally. That's kind of the design, and with intention is that we take 4 to 5 projects at a time. Again, we're not at that season where we're taking 15 and have a brick and mortar. We're just not there, and nor do we want to be. Lauren and I both have small children, and so 4 to 5 projects at a time is like the sweet spot for us. It's manageable. It and typically they're like 2 to 3, sometimes 4-year projects, because the square footages, especially on new builds, are large. I mean, they're typically always over 10,000 square feet. So that by the time you plan, and we're on that beginning phase. Yeah. So we are doing the exterior, doing the interior, landscaping. We're there till the last accessory is placed. Yeah. And we start from beginning conception. So it's years, years of our lives.
What, how do you, and you don't do the construction management, right? So you'll engage. Talk to us about how your firm engages with the actual, builders or the construction crew coming in doing the renovation. What's that balance and dance like?
Well, it's a tricky dance, because sometimes we get a say in who we would like to build, and we love that. Sometimes we don't get a say, and sometimes we have to work with whoever the clients chose and who won that bid. And I mean, it's tricky. It's a tricky dance. I'm going to be really transparent. It's a tricky dance, because I think when your standards are very high and maybe you work with a contractor who does not have those same standards, it makes for an uncomfortable process. But we try to be as transparent and open and honest up front as we possibly can be. Like, we're not super keen on this guy. Yeah. This is who we think is the best fit for you. Yeah. But I mean, and I say that because probably 75% of my correspondence during the week is the contractor, is the subs. That's who we hang with. I mean, that's the client is there, and but I'm with subs and contractors most of the week. Yeah. Which is also ironic, considering my husband coaches women and I'm mostly with men. Every day, so.
Yeah, that's great. Talk to us. I know you sort of have another offering beyond just, hey, I need to, if I'm going to work with Whittney Parkinson Design, it's got to be a new build or a full home renovation. Talk to us about the expert, and maybe explain for those that don't know what the expert is, how people could even get access to you for an hour at a time. Yeah. Right. Still, there's a fee associated with the expert, but just tell us more about what that all entails.
Yeah. So because we don't work out of state, or really even outside of Indianapolis, we've never had the ability to offer service beyond. And so the expert was started probably 5 or 6 years ago by Jake Arnold, who is an incredible designer in California. So it's an LA-based platform. And the thought was to to take some of the best designers in the world and make them accessible to the public who they typically wouldn't get a chance to work with them. And so you get half-hour to hour sessions. So they're 30 to 55-minute sessions. They come at a premium cost, but again, you're getting some of the best designers in the world, or maybe your favorite designer that you wouldn't typically have the ability to work with because we don't typically take scopes that small.
Yeah.
And so it's actually been a blast for me to do because, I mean, I do it usually once or twice a week. It could be someone in Canada, the UK, I mean, Australia, anywhere in the country. And so that's been really fun just to work with people you'd never typically have a chance to work with, help them. We have a lot of repeats, which I love. Like I'm starting to build like repeat clients already, which is fun. But it's been incredible supplemental income for me as well. Yeah. But it's just been really fun to have something else different from the day to day.
So some people can design like an entire kitchen in a half hour, 55 minutes, or maybe they sign up for a couple sessions.
Yeah,
and
they'll do a couple sessions, which is honestly really smart in regards to, I mean, you're going to pay a designer locally that you just feel ho-hum about their ability.
Yeah.
Like you can have your favorite designer design your kitchen or whatever, and maybe a couple sessions. Like to me, that is an incredible investment and smart. And we do that. We do that a lot. And so, I've really enjoyed that.
How can people find that? Is there a website?
Yeah. So it's just Ask the Expert. If you just Google the expert, I have a link on my page as well.
Okay.
You can go to and you can book the sessions. We're always adding more dates. So if there's not a date on there, I typically tell people to just shoot me a text or a message on Instagram and I'll add a date for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, maybe switching more to some personal stuff. What person would you say is the most influential in your life in regards to your business?
Yeah. He's going to hate that I say this, but it's most definitely my husband. And I think business, personal, whatever, I've always said I think the most important decision that you'll ever make in your life is your spouse. It is a make or break in every way, right? Your children, your legacy, everything is who you decide to marry. And Austin, because we are in such different fields, he has a lens of me that I don't have of myself. And he's so honest. And so when there are things about my business that, he's like, no, you're wrong. He's that home to me, right?
Yeah.
Or he's like, no, you're right. You're absolutely justified in this. Or just, I think early on, I didn't believe in myself in a lot of ways. And sometimes I joke that like the movie Shallow Hal, I'm like, you see something I'm not, like, do you think I'm one way when I'm actually just really average? And he's like, no, you're actually incredible. And so his words of affirmation to me on when I'm really feeling down, because business it's this. It is not. I think so many people think because of social media and the smoke and mirrors that business is always just like
linear up and to the right. Yeah.
And it is not. And I think Austin has always just been that person who makes me believe, he helps me believe in myself more than anyone else. And I just appreciate that.
I know he's super proud of you just in my conversations with him.
Yeah, he's great.
He really believes that in his core. So that's an awesome answer. What lights you up outside your day job? As we mentioned, you've got 3 young kids, all under 10. You're working pretty intently and efficiently a couple days a week, and then, filling in the cracks with calls and emails and all of that, given your work. But Is there anything outside of all that kind of gives you a lot of energy or joy?
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, anytime you find a job or a passion that you love, it doesn't really feel like a job. So it's like a weird question because I'm like, I get really hyped about my work because it doesn't feel like a job. But when I'm not working, my family first and foremost, always, like that is my true passion. But I love traveling, but specifically to places that have good architecture. Like I was telling Austin this the other day, I was like, I feel so alive when we travel places that I feel inspired by. I just feel alive in a way I can't even, it's like a euphoric. Those are usually like my highest highs. Like, we always talk about like when you're on your deathbed and you look back at your highlights of life. my highlights are always travel.
Yeah.
Like if we've been to Europe or
what are some of
New
your
York.
favorite cities that have like architecture?
I love Boston.
Yeah.
Boston's to me, underrated. It's very clean. It's very efficient. It's beautiful. The architecture's stunning. A lot of the East Coast. I love New York. Chicago was an incredible place to live, especially in my 20s and experience. But yeah, those are Charleston, Savannah, just the high architecture cities for me.
Columbus, Indiana. Don't sleep on Columbus.
Columbus, you cannot sleep on Columbus.
Yeah.
It is a hidden little gem. I know my in-laws lived in Columbus for a time, and that was fun to go down there and explore. So, yeah, those are. I mean, yeah, that lights me up. But again, that goes back to that's what I do. So, I feel like I found the right thing.
What would be a piece of advice for someone out there listening, in their 20s and 30s, as it relates to their career and then just kind of the whole life balancing act that we've discussed? What maybe a nugget or two for our audience?
Yeah, I think the 20s are hard. It's not a generation I think I would want to go back and relive. 20s are about learning, and 20s are about being coachable. And I say that not because I'm married to a coach. I just think that the 20s are the time when you have to be very humbled. And so it's taking the couple crap jobs maybe and just learning.
Yeah.
It is, it's just, I don't know. I think my biggest thing about 20s is just being coachable. I mean, I don't think this generation, if I'm being really honest, because I get a lot of intern requests or interns that aren't good at taking constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And I think that the 20s are the time where if you want to be really good at what you do, you got to be okay with being coached. You got to be okay with being criticized and not be soft. And I think that that's what the 20s was learning. Like, okay, I'm not great at this and I need to get better. And doing the jobs that aren't glamorous or aren't fun, because you actually are learning. You don't realize it, but you're learning.
Yeah.
And I just think soaking up everything you can in your 20s and not. I think so many kids today think, again, I go back to social media. It's just so smoke and mirrors. People think that you're just going to jump from college and have that great job, right? Like you're going to be that hustler, and that's not the reality.
Yeah.
That's not what it is. And so it's the 20s are tough, but just ride them out and be humble and be coachable.
And I think A players want that feedback, right? They want to be coached. They put their ego aside. They crave accountability. It's the B and C players that I've found over the years that don't want to be told, or where they could improve, or sort of have this blissful ignorance about I've got it all on autopilot and figured out. Like none of us ever fully arrive. Even I'm now in my early 40s, but it's got to be a continual process of improvement and seeking feedback. And but when you start to get some flowers, like in your 30s, you can kind of start to think that way, that maybe hey, I've got a large following, like I've got it figured out. You
have a little more equity in your 30s, right? But like your 20s, you've got nothing, and you've got to know that about yourself. And the best people want to be coached.
As we're wrapping up here, a question that I try to ask all my guests is, how do you define success?
I always think that's such a subjective question, because success to you would mean probably something totally different than it means to me. But for me personally, success is being able to do something that I don't feel like is a job. I don't view what I do as a job. I just feel very grateful that I get to wake up every day and use the gifts God's given me and give them to the world, and have the freedom to do it. Freedom to me is very important. That freedom to be with my children, to be with my family, to support my husband, and also do what I love. Yeah. And so to me, that is success. It's not defined by a dollar amount or an income amount or assets or anything like that. It's just truly daily freedom and passion, and just being fulfilled.
That's great. I couldn't agree more. I really believe we are all genetically encoded and wired, a specific way. And when you figure out what that is, I think it's an awesome way to model it for your kids, right? I mean, I'm around some people that I think their whole goal is just to spend every waking moment that they can with their family, and nothing against that. But I want my kids to see that I love what I get to do, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited to go work, and I might, miss something every now and then or be home a little bit later, but it's because dad loves what he gets to do, and I get to bring him into that world, and they get to see that, and
Yes.
hopefully down the road that inspires them to not just go find a job, but do something that they
Yes.
love doing and are uniquely built to do.
100%.
Right?
And I'm so grateful I had that same childhood that I think now, again, I didn't have that perspective as a kid, but now as a perspective as an adult and someone in business, I can look back and be like, whoa, we were immersed in that, and we were given the front row seat to watch them in their passions. And so it's invaluable.
Well, Whittney, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank
Talent
you.
Scout, sharing just your wisdom, your life experiences with our audience. I know it's going to resonate with a bunch of people out there, and excited to see kind of where you take this into the future through the various seasons and turns of life. So thank you again for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.